of residents for trash collection services, and you only provide to residents, you don't provide this service to businesses, is projected to be $3,912,000 and $763. Terry, I'm going to have you start reading these numbers. With anticipated expenses, which primarily are the payment to the vendor, but there's also other expenses that we incur with offering the yard waste facility and those types of things. So your anticipated expense would be $3,568,685 in 2020 if you approve the budget as noted. And again, most of that is going to the waste hauler to pay them for their services. Another fund, as you know, is the pool fund. And I don't recall if someone mentioned this already, but the pool and Armitage are fully funded by ratepayers and people that use those facilities and recreate there. None of the costs associated with operating your seasonal pool or Armitage Golf Course are funded by taxpayer dollars. In 2020, we're projecting a total revenue of $808,887 and a projected expenditures, if you approve the operating and capital costs that are programmed into the pool, of $478,695. We're talking. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to add one. I was just going to add one thing to that. For the commissioner's knowledge and the public, we're working with this consultant right now out of Kansas City called Water's Edge to do the feasibility study. They've obviously worked with many municipalities all over the country, as well as various other types of pools. Our model, where the pool operates without funding from the general fund, is unique. They have never encountered that, and when we explained it to them, they were borderline speechless that we were able to do that. So that's far from the norm.
Even locally, with other municipal operated pools.
There's no such thing as a municipal pool that operates independently. We are it in their experience.
So we do something right.
And they've indicated the same, as we'll talk in a few minutes about Armitage as well.
Yeah.
So
We do that right too.
yes. I'll add to what Dave's comment is that Water's Edge, as we've already spoke about tonight, will be here at your October 30th meeting to provide you with their draft input. You won't be expected to act upon any of their recommendations that evening. And I think that it would be appropriate for you to consider waiting until they make their final recommendations, especially related to fees, daily admission fees and membership fees for 2020, so that you can consider implementing those as your fee structure.
Just to add on to that, so it's clear for everybody, the presentation that Water's Edge will make next week is, it'll be partially historical as to how we got to our current state, and partially them starting to explore their various recommendations. They've got 3 different avenues, if you will, right now of a potential future for the pool. They're going to introduce you to those, but their final product is not going to be ready until December, so this is not a final presentation. It's not their final recommendation. It's an update to an ongoing
So
process.
again, some public input is.
Public input, they're still
welcome.
looking for public input, and they want to gauge the public reaction to the work they've done so far to see if they're on the right path. So, not a final product, just an update.
So segueing into your Armitage Golf Fund, again, it's solely supported by individual fees associated with the use of that facility by golfers. Your total revenue projected in 2020 would be $1,477,211, with expenses programmed, if you approve it, of $1,289,225. And what I'll just add for informational sake is some years Armitage obviously has a good year, and this was a good year because of the weather cooperating compared to last year per se. So it always manages to cover its operating expenses, and at times more so than that, which then funds your reserves for Armitage. and affords you with the opportunity to do capital improvement projects from time to time, which next year, I still kind of, my jaw drops when we discuss the purchase of these things. But your golf course superintendent's telling me that it's time to replace the sprayer out there, and a sprayer to maintain that facility is estimated to be $55,000. So, but again, it's not taxpayer dollars that are funding those things. You have some proposed HVAC repairs to the tune of about $25,000, which you don't do every year. You do every 20 or 30 years, and then staff believes, and you'll ultimately decide if you agree, that the boards for the outside deck need to be replaced. Again, that's something you do every.
The entire expanse of it?
Yeah, it's something you do about every 30 years, and so just like you have to maintain your deck at home if you have one, we have in there, if you choose to adopt the budget, $35,000 for the staff to replace the decking, not the understructure, but just the deck boards and repair
Are there any other
the railings.
being proposed with that aspect or not at this point? I mean, any enhancements? I mean, I know-
Expansion of the deck.
Enhancements overall. So, I mean,
Expansion of
we put the, the no stick on there. I mean, that's part of it.
yeah.
In terms of the steps,
Right.
in terms of accessibility, anything along those lines.
We'd make sure it met code, is about the scope of the project that I know Jeremy would have to, if you adopt the 2020 budget, at the appropriate time, Jeremy would come in and give us
The proprietor isn't asking for anything else along that in terms of
No.
anything's designed or not working well.
No.
on that.
And I'm not even aware that the tenant is suggesting this needs to occur, although I'm sure he would agree.
Right.
This is something that staff evaluated and decided it was a sound recommendation for the board. So,
This thing, the income side of this includes the caddy shack, you say?
yes, sir.
It also includes the tower?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just so you know, in this month's magazine, Governing, I think everybody gets it, there's an article about the national problem with golf courses. A lot of municipalities are having to shut them down and sell the land. Under the terms of the will, if this doesn't work someday, the will said that we could turn it into open space, but not development.
Correct.
Just so everybody's aware, this is forever in green.
Yeah, at the time, actually, the then current Board of Commissioners had to make the commitment that they would operate it for a minimum of 10 years and make a go at it. Fortunately, it proved to be a success over the decades. And but you are right that if for some reason a future board decided that it wasn't the right thing to continue operating it, it would remain as open space.
But one of the areas best, most played.
Correct.
And also,
Simply the best.
that's simply the best here for a number of years, whether it's John as the golf commissioner or myself. So it's team, I don't do quite as well.
So, brief highlights on your insurance program. This will run the gamut from personnel benefits to workers' comp and comprehensive insurances, to which Dave oversees and manages on a day-to-day and annual basis. But we're hearing that the medical premium for staff is supposed to increase at approximately 8.9%, which is less than what the double-digit private sector market typically sees. And as you recall, you elected a number of years ago to enter into a self-funded arrangement for medical benefits, and so we anticipate a surplus at this point in time of the refund on that self-funding arrangement of about $180,000 to help offset that increase in 2020. Your dental, you're not seeing anything more than a little more than 0.5% of increase in the administration fees, to which Dave negotiated, if you approve it, a 2-year rate lock on that. So that's still proving to be a successful self-funded arrangement as well. No vision increase in the premiums. Dave, you're currently shopping, as I recall, life and disability, and
That's correct. I'm waiting on quotes back from 2 different companies right now.
okay, and so that policy would renew in January, and you have time to think about that as Dave finds what those quote amounts are. To the credit of the State Certified Safety Committee, which Dave is the chair of, as well as members of each of your departments who meet monthly and review workplace accidents and provide safety trainings and conduct safety inspections of your municipal buildings, you'll see a decrease in what's called your experience modifier in your workers' comp rates next year. So that's going to be going down on a positive note, less workplace related accidents. And then Dave's indicating that you're trending through our broker to likely see no increase in comprehensive and liability insurance, but a minor adjustment of a little more than 2% of what you already have programmed and need to have programmed to cover the township's comprehensive insurance policy.
Does that show a reduction if we manage to get rid of this building, or is this building included?
There would be. Dave's already.
There would be a reduction.
I mean, does this show?
No, it does not.
Does not show.
Yeah, this includes insuring this building for all of 2020.
I see.
And
So before
half
we
of
have to
next
sell
year.
it, then it would go down again.
It would go down again if we sell it in 2020.
Got it.
The new building is also, the new building is currently insured under a builder's risk policy. Once we occupy it, it will transition to being part of the insurance schedule that creates the rest of the rate. But right now, it's being covered under a builder's risk policy that's already been paid for. So whenever we occupy it, we'll get a prorated addition at that time, but I've included that in my budget.
It's good, I mean, it probably will have it the whole year, guys, because, we can't, the building won't be done until next late spring, or next summer.
June, and then there's probably punch lists, so I'm thinking moving in July maybe, but there's going to be some logistics that really need to be mapped out. It's not like we're just occupying a new building with new staff. It's how do we move operations from here, keep downtime to a minimum, and be ready to roll and meet the needs of the residents and businesses over there too.
Like Friday to Monday.
Yeah, yeah.
2 days.
But I've met with a consultant who assisted many other businesses and municipalities with what we're facing. And I'd like to talk with you about that at a future meeting, because I think he can bring some knowledge, expertise, and logistics to the table that will help expedite that and help us not overlook something that we're not all accustomed to having to do. So.
Yeah, it's the physical movement of furniture, equipment, et cetera, but it's also all the electronic stuff.
Correct.
That we've got to maintain and be up to date on.
Yeah. And he's worked with municipalities that he's sensitive and knowledgeable to the extent that there's evidence that the police department has that if we use a mover instead of our staff, they can take that into account and they can have it sealed and locked, and they would trace it and track it to make sure that there's a chain of custody. And it's amazing in the short period of time that I talked with the guy, the ideas that he shared with us. So just to recap about your experience over the years with the self-funded medical plan, you've seen, because of a reduction in claims compared to what the actuaries were estimating from 2015 through 2019, a return on your payments of over $880,000. So that's been a successful program, and again, Dave oversees that program on a day-to-day basis. Segueing into the retired benefits, which are again funded by transfers from the general fund, anticipating a total revenue, if needed, including reserves, of $313,810, but only an expense of $179,400. So those reserves will continue to help keep that fund solvent moving forward.
This is included, please?
Yes, sir. And then spoke very briefly earlier about unemployment compensation fund. We have very limited claims, and we self-fund that too, because of the fact that we've looked at things like, and you guys have been approached at your conferences about UComp, right? And at one conference, probably 3 times.
Yeah.
And Terry and I have continued to, every other year, take a look at it and see if UCOM's policies have changed, and they just don't make any sense for Hampton Township and our claims experience. So we suggest that you continue to self-fund any claims that you have for unemployment compensation. So total revenue and reserves there in that fund allocated at $64,849 with a possible expenditure, most of that being funded by Armitage and the seasonal recreation department because of those employees filing for unemployment when they're laid off of 17,000, but that I doubt we'll hit that number, quite truthfully. Questions of the commissioners at this point? If you are interested, I have a brief discussion with you about personnel-related matters in executive session as far as contracts with the police department and so on and so forth, but I don't need to waste your time this evening either. That's my presentation. By all means,
How much do you have for Wednesday, an executive session requirement?
nothing that comes to mind at this moment.
I just wondered-
Relative to the budget,
I just wondered if we could do it Wednesday.
we could, yes,
It's getting late.
sure. Yep.
There's people,
Yeah, I don't want to bore you anymore. and I'm just joking with that, I'm sorry. But
This is a very, I commend you and the staff.
that was just a poke at me, not a perception that you guys are that way.
That was fascinating.
Thank you,
All of them is really good.
thank you,
The amount of numbers going in and out and
appreciate it.
value.
Yeah,
Thank you, very informative.
all told, we've programmed a $82 million budget. If the Board of Commissioners decide to move forward with that, accomplishing your annual operating costs and your capital costs. So it'd be very difficult to have a detailed line item discussion, and the board's seen fit to work with myself and staff to know that we program in good numbers, realistic numbers, and make sure that the township's in good financial situations, and then tackle projects as needed through the year, so appreciate it. And quite truthfully, it's not just me. I mean, every department head works with their staff to develop their recommendations to me, and then I work with Terry and Dave to bring these ideas to the board, and then they give me feedback as well, so appreciate it.
No, hats off to the staff and Keith,
Indeed.
Dave, Terry on just this and throughout the entire staff that we have. Very professional.
Yeah, and they really do, everybody that I interact with on your staff, very pleasant. I've gotten, this year, 2019, almost done, I've gotten this many calls, complaining about any staff in Hampton Township.
Well, we own up if it occurs, and, we'll recognize that no one's perfect, but we strive to meet your expectations and the residents' expectations, so.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We stay up.
So what are we doing? Are we talking about stuff in here tonight or what?
I'm at your mercy, Commissioner.
So I'm gonna, again, voice my displeasure with the per capita tax. I think the $10 assessment is a very regressive tax. This is my annual spiel to get rid of it. It generates a net of $132,000. We've got a budgeted reserve of $2.6 million, and I don't think it's fair to have a $10 assessment of high school students, college students, retired senior citizens, those that are laid off. So I think it's a ridiculous tax in a well-funded township. On a personal note, I have a kid paying $70,000 a year to go to medical school so he can take care of all of you, and you sent him a bill for $10 a year for the privilege of existing when he has no income. So I think it's a ridiculous tax. So I know everyone's feelings on that tax, and if it's included in this budget, I'll be voting against the budget for my, what is it, 6th year in a row. So, well, it's a regressive tax.
To John's point, I mean, the one $35,000 to administer it, to receive that amount.
It's actually $44,000.
I'm sorry, I was
$45,000
for
to
return.
try to collect 177, and you're sitting on 2.7 million, $2.6 million at the end of the year just in the general fund. I think it's a ridiculous tax, so you guys can keep charging it, and I'll gladly put it down.
Question on that. If it were to go away from the township, does it actually go away, or does another municipal agency gain the ability to claim it?
In the school.
Such as a school district?
No, it's our tax. Correct.
Well, the question is,
I think, if I can speak, at one time, we
Let's
split
take
it.
your microphone here.
I don't- Sorry,
Join us.
I'm not used to this. I think at one time, we split it with the county, and then when the county did away with it, we started collecting and receiving the entire $10. So I think if we do away with it, it just goes away.
Your recollection of the county mirrors mine. I do not know I couldn't say definitively whether or not the local school district would
Well,
step
that-
in.
and it could have been the county thing that I was,
Well, if
Thinking
you can
about it.
research that, because there's no way I'm giving $10 to Cumberland Valley, so if that's who ends up getting it, we'll keep charging. Because I'm not funding them.
We will get a
Good question.
definitive answer to that
Not
before you
giving it
adopt
to
it.
them, but I just think that's absurd.
yeah, no dispute, just,
Yeah.
you know,
No, it's cool, we'll look into it, but if they're getting it, we'll charge it.
There's another option, people don't wanna pay that because, you know, they're not doing a job or whatever, or retired people have to pay too. Why not reframe it as an arts tax and use the money to beautify the township? I think people would gladly pay an art tax to make things more beautiful.
we could use the money for that. I think this is John hates this tax. I don't like
In
it
case you don't
particularly.
know.
I don't like it particularly, but there are some people that live in Hampton Township. This is the only tax they pay. It's $10 a year, they live here. Now, that's not just talking about, but I'm talking about people who rent. They pay their rent, they don't have to pay a real estate
But they're
tax.
paying tax through their rent, so don't act like they're not
I'm
paying
saying,
any
they
tax.
don't.
I didn't say
no,
that.
I
I didn't say that.
Totally agree. I'm saying they don't pay
Direct.
anything to Hampton Township.
Direct.
Directly,
Direct.
and this is one opportunity that they have to have skin in the game. Which, you know, you can say, well, maybe we can figure out a way to waive it for students, which would be fine with me. But if you have an adult that's living here that lives on the earned income of $100,000, I'm not, unearned income of $100,000, and they rents a place, say on Logan Circle or whatever it is, they rent a place, they have no earned income, they don't pay the income tax, they don't pay the real estate tax because it's being paid through the rent, but they're not paying it. The $10 is all they pay, so that's and to a certain extent, it helps keep track of who lives here. And, you know, is it worth it? I'd be willing to work with, if there was a system to say, you know, people who are poor or people that can't afford it, or, I don't need your $10. We can work it out, but I'd be willing to wait the whole
Okay,
thing.
well, for those of us that work and pay income tax, sending me a bill for $10 is not.
I'm retired, John, I make $4,000 a year, and I don't have to pay the $10.
Yeah, okay.
I'm saying 4,000, that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
That's my only income.
Earned income.
My wife has to live on that 4,000.
That's what you're under. I wanna put that in the public record.
Oh, I know.
Okay, thank you. You're not on poverty.
I have social security. But I'm,
Now,
I want to fix
whatever,
it.
I mean, you guys can leave it in, but I'll vote no.
Okay.
okay. We'll talk.
No, we won't.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Anyhow.
All right, is there anything else?
Are we gonna go executive session here for personnel? I'm fine with it.
Well, what else is left to do? I mean, are we really coming back to line item?
No.
I was just getting ready to ask that question, and unless you feel as though there was something lacking in my presentation or the information that's been conveyed to you, I have nothing further to analyze or provide to you at this point, and would recommend that you consider canceling the meeting.
I'd say-
And the issue,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
So can we go in executive session, talk about compensation
That's the thing.
Not come back to this beautiful building.
Compensation,
I've had enough.
compensation.
And I will clarify again, I am expecting no action from you this evening.
I understand.
On any matters. I just wanted to have this presentation with you to give you the broad paintbrush of the budget.
We're not gonna take action, so if we go into executive session,